Hello, it's time for Combat Patrol Carnage. We're back with issue 41 for our final time, and it's time to thump the gits as we get to try out our Orc Warboss against a small Eldari force who's trying to claim his turf, and he ain't best pleased. This is a nice scenario where we have to destroy a certain key target, and the good bit is we can modify it later on. It gives us suggestions about Chaos Space Marines and Tyranids, but really you can choose any faction you want. Personally, I've got a feeling he'd like to have a good scrap with the Space Marine Captain and Terminator armour and see who is the best fighter around. Yeah, we'll enjoy that in battle in just a bit, but before we do, don't forget to, of course, do all the usual. Like this video if you're enjoying the content, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and drop me a comment down below. Love hearing back from you guys and goes a massive way to helping out the channel. If you want to help the channel out further, there's ways you can do so. Check the links in the video description, and I'll be greatly appreciated for any support you can give. Finally then, Combat Patrol Carnage is proudly sponsored by warbait.shop, your one-stop supply for all your hobby needs. They stock everything you need from getting started with your own war, from character models to awesome new units, and of course accessories as well. They also stock all past and present partworks from Hachette, including additional issues of Combat Patrol if you're wanting to double up on some of the key Orc units. Or other faction units if you are that way inclined. So check them out as usual, there's a link in the video description, and of course they got the physical store. Right, let's head to the table and we'll test out this Warboss's Ooze Chopper as we thump the gits! Hello then, welcome back to issue 41 of Combat Patrol magazine, and here we have our Orc Warboss up against his selected enemies for this battle, the Eldari, who are setting up a weapon platform to pick off Orc patrols, and this boss has come to deal with it personally. So yeah, we'll be facing off against a single Wraith Guard, a single jet bike with twin shuriken catapults, and 3 guided defenders who are setting up their weapon platform. So we've got a little bit of reading to do before we dive into the scenario, so let's move this out of the way, adjust the camera, and we can dive right on in. Alright, flipping through the magazine, here we go. Scenario 27, Thump the Gits. The war boss of an Orc army received news that the Eldari are trying to install a gun emplacement near to his camp. Wanting to make sure they don't succeed, the war boss sets off by himself to show them who's hardest and to administer a well-deserved thumping. To play Thump the Gits, set up Battle Mat 1 as shown below, and gather your armies. The Orc players take their war boss. The Eldari player takes a Wraith Guard, 3 guarding defenders, and a heavy weapon platform, and 1 Wind Rider armed with twin shuriken catapults. Finally, the units are deployed in a line as instructed below. Deployment. First, the Eldari player places their units in their locations shown, then the Orc player places their units in the locations shown. Starting with the Eldari player, players take it in turns deploying terrain in the areas until there is 1 piece of terrain in each. The Orc player takes the first turn. In this scenario, you may not take any enhancements or secondary objectives, and neither side may use faction abilities or stratagems. So that's the first time we've actually seen this mentioned in a scenario. So hopefully we'll be seeing it mentioned quite often going forward for these little training scenarios. But yeah, for larger games we can implement things such as that. So, how to win. If the Orc Warboss can destroy the heavy weapon platform, the Orc player is the winner. If the Eldari patrol can destroy the Warboss and mega armor, the Eldari player is the winner. If neither side has destroyed their target by the end of the 5th battle round, the game is a draw. So we've got some special rules over the page, and we've got 4 terrain deployment zones, our Wraith Guard, our Guardian Defenders, and the Wind Rider, and the Warboss goes there. But, as I said, some special abilities to look at. So, special abilities. Orcs are known for their cunning brutality and brutal cunning. In this battle, you can pick a special ability that you can use to help you turn the tide of the battle in your favour. If you select the brutal ability, then it will remain active throughout the game. If you select the cunning ability, you can teleport onto the battlefield at an advantageous location rather than starting in your usual location. So, Brutal. If you select the Brutal special ability, your Warboss in Mega Armor will be able to weather the devastating fire of enemies as he advances to their position to deal a good kicking. Each time a ranged attack is allocated to the Warboss in Mega Armor, halve the damage characteristic of that attack. So, for example, the Star Cannon fires, normally does 2 damage, but it's half to 1. Or else you could choose to use the Cunning ability. So if you select the Cunning ability, your Warboss in Mega Armor will make use of a devious Orc technology and teleport onto the battlefield and surprise the Eldari. So once the Eldari player has deployed their units, the Orc player sets up the Warboss in Mega Armor anywhere that they choose, as long as they are 9 inches or more from any enemy models and 6 inches from any board edge. So in this example, the Orc player has used Cunning and teleported safely behind a terrain piece where he can't really be targeted, 9 inches away from all of the Eldari models in the vicinity. This will allow him to move in the first turn and hopefully charge and destroy the platform to win pretty much straight away. What we'll do, we'll use Cunning first, and then we'll use Brute Force afterwards. We'll play through the scenario probably twice, maybe even 3 times, just to see the effects the Orc Warboss and the scenario has to offer. We've got a victory page there, so that's kind of spoiled things if you've read it. And we've got how to customize this scenario, which is one of the things I'm liking that we're seeing a lot of now. So once you've played through the scenario above, you can customize it to give yourself a fresh experience. Simply follow the instructions below, pick a new enemy and target. Both players should agree on which units to use so that the battle is fun to play. Remember, the Warboss likes a good challenge, not an easy fight. So to make your own scenario, you should decide which faction will oppose the Warboss. Once you have picked a faction, choose which models from that faction should be the target model for the Warboss to destroy. Then pick some additional troops to help defend the target. It can be fun to tell a story to explain why the two sides are fighting. For example, you might decide the battle is taking place over territory. We've got a couple of suggestions here. So as an example, you might choose to set up a scenario against the Chaos Space Marines with the aspiring champion as a target and other troops defending. So the champion's wanting to ascend to demonhood, and to do it he needs to kill your Warboss, but the boss ain't going to go down easy. And for the Tyranids here, we've got the option, so you could choose to set up a scenario against the Tyranids with the Psychophage as a target and selection of other Tyranids around them. So yeah, so you can have the Psychophage in the centre here, bunch of Gaunts, Barb Gaunts, maybe even some Von Ryan's Leapers, just to give the boss a bit of a challenge. Right then, I'll set up the battlefield and we can try out this little scenario with our Orc Warboss. So here we are, set up, ready to play our scenario. So we'll start off by going with the Cunning. So we'll remove the Orc Warboss from the battlefield and he's going to teleport in. And he'll teleport in right there, over 9 inches. Yeah, perfect. Away. And Orcs get first turn, so here we go. Orc turn 1. So he's got a movement of 5, so he'll go 2 down to there, and then 3 across to there. His little grot on top is going to take some shots. So we get 3 shots. And we're in half range, so we actually get an additional 2 thanks to rapid fire. So 5 shots hitting on 4s. Only the 2. We don't have any rerolls because we're not using stratagems. Strength 5, toughness 3, so 3s. That's 2 wounds at minus nothing, so our Guardians do get their 4+ save. Ooh, 1 has failed. And next, the all-important, we need to charge in and chop up. So we need a 5 to get within half an inch. And he goes green and mean with a 9. So he's going to go, "Roar, I'm going to smash that machine." So he gets 4 attacks with his huge chopper, hitting on 2s because he's really mean. That's everything. And strength 12, so these are wounding on 2s as well. That's everything, and -2, so we do get a save. So 4 6-up saves. We need to pass, well, all of these, or at least one, fail one. And we fail 2, and that means, as there's no guardians left, the weapon platform is also destroyed. I did it! I'm the biggest and the baddest. So, well, there we go. That is a turn 1 victory. So let's replay that with the brutal method, in which we start off right at the back of the field here, and we have to really work our way through to the enemy. So still orc turn. So he's going to stomp 5 inches forward. Take his 5 shots of his shooter at the Wraith Guard. Hitting on 4s, only the once. Wounding on 5s. It does. 2+ save from the Wraith Guard. It does. When you need a 3-inch charge, he's in. And our benefit for this is we are reducing damage. I think it's only from the range attacks. Yeah, just from range attacks. So we've denied the Eldari Wraith Guard from being able to do anything by charging into him, which is good because that Wraith Gun would be dangerous against us. He'd curse outright if he got lucky. So hitting on 2s. Ooh, we dropped one. And it's 12 against 6, we're double, so wounding on 2s. All of them. -2, so a 4-up save. Ooh, he's saved 1 but failed 2, so that is 4 damage. It's enough to kill our Wraith Guard. He can consolidate, so towards the closest enemy unit. Well, I guess towards the objective, I guess. And now he's kind of set out in the middle as we go into the Eldari turn 1. So, Wind Rider's going to zoom 14 over to here and harass him with shots. And so is our Guardians. So, 4 shots from our Jack Bike first. No, just 2 shots, sorry, not 4 shots. What I think it's 4. I think on the unit. He's the nearest target, so only rerolls 1s. And wounding on strength 4, toughness 6, 5s, rerolling for twin links, don't need a reroll. -1 to our Warboss. 2 down to a 3. Saved. Then we've got 6 shots from our Guardian Defenders. Hitting on 3s. Wounding on 5s. 2 and -1. 3-up save. Ooh, he's failed 1. He didn't like that. He's down to 6 out of 7. 6. And then 2 shots from the Star Cannon. Hitting on 3s. 1. Wounding on 3s. Wounds. -2. But luckily, due to being brutal, we can ignore half the damage. It's damage 2 normally. And we fail because it's a 4+ save we need to make. So instead of 2, it's 1 down to 5 wounds. Guardians aren't going to make any charges, so it's up to the Warboss then. Actually, no. Let's try the jet bike, see if we can hold up the Warboss for another turn. He's in within a 7. Vroom. This might go badly. So we get 3 attacks of our close combat weapon, hitting on 3s. Ouch. Wounding on 5s. No. And he fights back with his 4 attacks, hitting on 2s. Wounding on 2s. That is or could be 1 dead jet bike. So -2, 3 saves of 5+. Oh, 2 fails, he's dead. Smash. And now it's over to the orcs. He's going to move his 5. His little grot's going to take his shots. Ooh, he did pretty well, hitting 4 times. Strength 5, toughness 3, freeze. Only the 2. Minus nothing, so 4 up armor. No. 2 guardians down, only 1 left. Charge. 9 again. Bash. You think you can stop me? Hitting on 2s. Wounding on 2s. Ouch. Only the 1. That's all we need. 6 up save. Nope. Splat. 2 damage. Enough to kill a guardian, and since there's no guardians left, the platform has disappeared. And there we go. Our Warboss is double victorious. So, back to the magazine, and we'll find out what's on our next combat patrol. So, there we go. That was our battle for issue 41. And yeah, this guy just showed them how bad he can be. Right, to the back. Oh, first off, victory speech. So, Warboss in the background there. As we turn the page for our victory speech. And we got a orc victory. So, surrounded by the pulped bodies of his enemies and the fizzing remains of their crushed heavy weapon platform, the Warboss in Mega Armor raised his huge chopper in triumph and let out his riotous cry, "War!" So there we go. Right, next to combat patrols then. So next up then, issue 42, our final issue for our latest delivery, delivery 11. So we got shade paints with Coolio Green Shade and a layer paint with Calgar Blue. We're only putting Coolio Green Shade to use. Calgar Blue is put aside for future use in highlighting Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines. We'll learn a bit more background about the orcs, including the power of the war. And then we got the chance to actually have a full combat patrol game, so we'll see our Chaos Space Marines in a full-on game. Then we've got issue 43. We're kicking things off with all things green as we get our first set of 10 orc boys. So this squad's going to be built with the Ooge Chopper Knob and the Big Shooter Boy. The second squad is built with the Power Claw Knob and the Missile Launcher Boy, or Rocket Launcher Boy. And yeah, we have 3 boys of shooters and 5 boys of choppers and pistol shooters, sluggers, I believe they're called. And yeah, so we learn more about orcs, get a naming chart, and we also have a brand new scenario to try these guys out in. So there we go. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and all left for me to do is to say thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time on more Combat Patrol Carnage. Goodbye.